It's the Rambling Squad podcast, a podcast that discusses all about the lore behind your favorite series here on our Miscat Squad Clubhouse. So without any further ado, let's get into the lore, let's start geeking out about things, and let's get ready to ramble. Well, hey guys, welcome back to the Rambling Squad podcast. Oh my god, I actually said it right this time. I'm very exhausted due to a lot of things that have been going on. So if I start blabbering, just get prepped for that. Oh man, so this is going to be the podcast for chapters 1 and 2 of RWBY Volume 2. Because I missed chapters 1. I actually did do a recording of it, but it felt so short to me that I felt, I gotta make this longer, and I really want to go bit by bit when I get to chapter 2. So if the chapters seem a little, okay, that one was 15 minutes, but compared to what happened in chapter 2 of Volume 2, there was a lot that actually went on. So there's a lot that we have to talk about. So for the first episode, the first chapter, Kat, always get it right. How it started out with the food fight and everything else about it, how perfect that was. It showcased their abilities. Like, instead of everybody just being like, okay, let's tell you everything that RWBY can do let's tell you everything RWBY could do as a character. Let's tell you everything that Yang can do. What are her abilities? What can she do? I mean, instead of, oh, I thought I was going to do a cool trick shot here. Instead of just telling us again over and over, doing like a type of recap thing, how Volume 2 has opened up has really showed us that these creators know their characters, but also how the fans already know what is coming. So instead of us being like, okay, sitting there for 10 minutes saying, this is what RWBY is, this is what happened in Volume 1, this is what's actually happening, it was paced so nicely that the second you start Volume 2 after going into Volume 1, you feel like you're in that area again. You feel like you're in that world. You feel like you're with those characters. So what I really did appreciate how Volume 2 did start is it started off like any other opening to any other show, where it'd just be like, okay, here's the characters, here you go. It's just like when you get into season 2 of a show, yes, there's little tidbits here and here, like here and there that happened in season 1 or season 3 or whatever season you're on, but it doesn't carry out, it doesn't drag you out, it doesn't make you feel like, okay, this has gone on already, this is what happened. It's like, instead of that, it's just telling us again that here's the characters, but we're going to put them in this funny situation. And you guys, what's really funny, did say that they wanted to make a fight between the two teams with Juniper and RWBY, but have not, to make those stakes not high. So to see the abilities between the two teams, I think if they were actually fighting, it'd be really cool to see, but I just hope they never get into any kind of fight, because, they're all friends with each other. But they do, like RWBY, out of everybody, won the whole fight, so she was the strongest. But I think if the stakes were actually high, how cool would that see their actual abilities? But to see it through food, that's what I do appreciate, because I love food. But to see it in a food fight too, that's whenever I see food fight from any type of series, I'm like, it reminded me of, if you guys watched the Wild Thornberrys movie, there was a food fight scene, and I love that's I always go back to that scene from when I was a kid and did watch that. It always made me laugh. So to see this in an anime, I know you guys say that RWBY might not be an anime to you, but just to see it inside of this type of media. It's really inspiring that they were able to take that from food fights from many different types of cartoons, or food fights from many different movies out there, and add their own originality on top of that. Because with food fights, you have to do it right. Why did the food fight start? Who's going to win the food fight? How are they going to fight with each other? But this had so much more meaning behind it, because instead it was used as a great writing technique of saying, okay, we're going to show the audience exactly what their abilities are through the use of food. So I really did enjoy that. I love that. And how Good Witch just walks in, how she walks in and she's so angry. It reminded me a lot, again, what I did mention in the episode, of how Professor McGonagall is from Harry Potter. And those types of characters, they're always I wouldn't say she's stuck in her ways, but she is stuck in a certain way where it's things just must be so. So when these girls are just getting in these types of shenanigans, when, like she was saying, like, these are going to be your warriors. How are they going to win the war? And Ozpin is like, Ozpin? Ozpin is like, hey, you know, don't worry about it. I'm just gonna have my cup of joe with me, and just like, I just hope they don't have to. Or saying what he said was so powerful, was how he mentioned, what I loved is how Yang and everyone was waving, how he mentioned that they're not going to be kids forever, so allow them to enjoy their time, which is a very humble thing of him to do, because he knows that something may be coming about. There might be something like a war that's going to happen, which, how Volume 2 is going so far, based on Chapter 2 of Volume 2, it's kind of getting me prepped for this type of war that I'm not anticipating. Every single chapter is kind of like a movie, like how I'm seeing it. It feels like much more like a movie than Volume 1 did, like, and by that I mean just how the cinematography is, even in the OP, like the zooms, the pans, this and that, and how Volume 2 did open up. It's like beautifully put, like how it's zooming in, how, and it's mind-blowing to see how from Volume 1 to Volume 2, the animation style has improved drastically. I mean, like, drastically, my friends. It's not just like a simple, oh, there's a tweak of this animation there. It's like, you guys were saying that the reason why there were the silhouettes was in Volume 1 was because of the lack of budget, but I really did prefer the silhouettes because it kind of let my eyes roam to the important scenes and the important characters. But to see that they had much more of a bigger budget, they had probably maybe turns around that time, maybe they had a bigger team. I have to start looking at more of the history of how Rooster Teeth did start and how Monty and his team did start like producing RWBY, because it was a big jump from Volume 1 with the short episodes, with the different types of animation that I didn't mind at all, that I did prefer, and then going to Volume 2 with the longer episodes, with the better animation budget. Everything was perfect. It was absolutely perfect to me, and this is why I'm excited to go on in further chapters and further volumes, because based on what you guys keep saying, it just gets better and better within every single volume. So I'm just worried because of how Good Witch, I'm just worried because of how Good Witch and how Ozpin and everybody else is saying, hey, you know, like, there is a war. Like, in the last 2 chapters, they have been warning about this war. They have been talking and discussing it. And I'm like, this is not good. Because I feel like Season 2... all the time, yeah. I feel like Volume 2 is not only going to focus on Beacon, but will be focusing more on possibly this coming of a war. Like, this is like the anticipation before the war. This is the build-up. This is the moment in, like, a story. If you're writing your own story, this is the calm before the storm. You know, it's the storm's about to happen. Because why? Because in Chapter 2 of Volume 2, Cinder, Miss Cinder, is actually in Beacon Academy, which shook me. I am triggered to know that she is in Beacon. Now, what I said in the episode within my reaction was just a few things. 1, who did she bribe? 2, who did she kill? Or 3, who the heck is working in cahoots with her? Now, to go back into Volume 2, Chapter 2, how it opened up, Ozpin's friend, Ozpin, you guys said that you now use Ozpin as a way to insult Ozpin. Ozpin's friend actually came about and, like, came up there, and they were actually friends with each other, and he's working on, like, the whole security thing, and is, like, taking precautions to a level that is extreme, while Ozpin is like, hey, you know, like, let's calm down, let's not scare everybody, this is a time of peace, the festival is coming. So why did he have a bandage on his head? That looks like either somebody beat him up, or maybe that's just his design. I don't know. But what I took away from that, from how it opened up, from Chapter 2, how that opened up, he had a bandage on his head. And then at the end, you see Cinder and her buddy Buds. They're involved. They're in Beacon. They actually got in Beacon. And I don't know who they bribed again. I don't know who they killed. And I don't know, or who they actually had to hurt, or... I don't know who they're working with, but he had, I think there was a bandage on his head. And I noted that. I was like, wait, why is there a bandage there? Because either he got into some kind of, like, scrap with somebody, got into a fight, but he's also insisting that there be more security, that, you know, people take it much more seriously. But Ozpin is just literally like, no, this is a time of peace, this is a time of celebration, this is a festival. But as I've noticed with every type of anime out there, whenever there's a festival, something dramatic happens. I mean, I'm even talking about with slice of life anime. There's always something dramatic that happens, or a big leap happens during these times of festival season. So, oh man. How they're now in Beacon, it stresses me out. Because I'm like, RWBY was running, oh my god, my board game, runs in, and I'm like, oh, maybe she was running into a new character. Maybe it was Neptune or somebody else, or maybe it was Sun. Maybe somebody else, maybe there would be like something, but nope, it went to that. It went that route. And what Cinder noted in Chapter 1 was, oh, we're going to Phase 2. They're in Phase 2. Is this Phase 2? Is Phase 2 breaking into Beacon Academy? Because that worries me. If she's going to go all out to just infiltrate the place where they are raising, now you have to understand, they are training and raising these huntresses and hunters, and they are raising them to be and training them to be the next people who win this war. Cinder is... she scares me. I don't know how much trouble she's going to cause. I don't know, but I feel like this woman has a big ego, and I also feel like she thinks that she could get her way all the time, and which makes a great villain, because unstoppable villains usually make the best. So if she's in a lot of furthering like volumes, I would love to see how she develops. But also, a reason I do like villains is because I try to understand them. And in every series I've either played on the channel or watched or have reviewed, I always want to go into the perspective of the why. So I'm gonna, when you'll notice, like throughout my reactions for RWBY, I'll be asking the question why. Like, why did you do that, Cinder? And then possibly going back and trying to like pinpoint certain things to learn about her like backstory or anything, because how she is, she feels very confident in herself. She feels like she could get her way. Maybe she's a bit of a sociopath. Maybe she doesn't care who she has to hurt in order to get her way. I don't know. I've just met her for the last, I mean, chapters 16, she was mentioned. She was actually hinted at from the beginning, from even chapter 1 of RWBY. She was hinted at as like with a woman with those eyes. So it's always going back to her eyes. And the eyes are the gateway to the soul. So maybe that has something to do with it too, why they were hinting at it from like volume 1. I mean, Cinder's been hinted at since then. So it's like, it's the coming of the big leader, like the big villain, the actual villain of this series. I don't know, because it could be, she could even be a pawn. You know, she is like, what I've noticed within anime and everything, like, maybe she's not the major villain, but she is the villain as of right now. She is the villain that we're going to have to worry about. So that's what I'm worried about right now. I'm not worried about future events. Of course I'm like worried about future events, because these are my beans and I can protect them. But at the same time, I'm worried that in the given moment, in the given now, because I don't know what she's going to do. She seems to be very, again, egotistical and doesn't care if she has to hurt. I mean, the way she looked at RWBY was very, very creepy. RWBY didn't think anything of it because RWBY wants to be friends with everybody. RWBY's quirky. She's not going to think like, oh, this woman might destroy us all. And the weird thing is, too, is at that given moment, Blake was talking about, oh, no one is doing anything. Like, no one is taking action against this. And, you know, Boyce is just like, oh, we're just students. We're not going to have to worry about that kind of stuff. Something I did disagree with Best Girls. Sorry, Best Girls. You see Best Girls Drawn. Thank you guys for sending in your request for what I should be drawing. But Best Girls Drawn over here. Only thing I do disagree with her is saying that, oh, we're students. They're not going to expect anything from us. But they are already. They're already wanting to send them to this war. Whatever may it be, this type of war. I don't know what this war has in store or what's going to happen over the next few volumes, but all I do know is you have to be prepared. So I agreed 100% with Blake that you should be cautious. Like, she should have moments of having fun, but she's worried at the same time. She's worried that during this time of the festival, something's going to happen, and I agree with her, because now Cinder and her pawns are at this festival. They're at Beacon Academy with uniforms on. So they infiltrated, okay, they infiltrated the place pretending to be students. So obviously Ozpin, I've noticed he's very standoffish. He's like at the few last chapters, I feel like he suspects something's going to happen, but doesn't want to think about it. He doesn't want to put these kids through this. He doesn't want to have to explain to them that your childhood is over, your teen years are over, you can't have fun because you have to go to war. I feel like he does not want to do that to them. So it's worrying me that everybody else except for him is saying there's going to be a war. Are you sure that these kids are going to be the warriors? It's like everything is riding on their shoulders, and yet at the same time they have no idea, except for Blake, about what's going to happen. Because Blake is thinking ahead while everyone else is thinking for the moment. Like, Ruby's literally like, oh, I'm excited. Okay, we're going to do this and that. But she's not thinking about the seriousness to it. Because, that's not how her character is. But Blake, being the logical sense of the whole group, she's thinking from a logical point of view, saying something's going to happen. And it ain't good. Oh, man. I'm literally, like, worried. Because how Cinder just walks in. She just walks in. And again, I can talk about this for hours. How she just bumps into her, worried about her board game, about something so simple, something so simplistic. And then here's Cinder. And she's all like, hey, okay, whatever, bye. And the way she stares at her, like she kind of knows. She kind of knows how strong Ruby is. So phase 2 is underway, my friends. And I'm not happy about that. I'm scared. I'm very scared about this. But another thing I did enjoy is how the interactions between the character, and like I always say, ships are always valid, no matter what type of ship you have, and I want to make this clear, is that any type of ship you have is valid. And I know you guys said that mentioning ships can start like toxic ship wars, but this about our community is, yeah, I might have favorite ships, yeah, I might ship 2 characters that you don't, but I want us to be more understanding with each other. I want us to really have more of a conversation. Because to me, every ship is valid. I'm not going to be like preachy about it, saying like your ship isn't valid just because I don't like it. To me, I'm going to be like, oh, okay, cool. I would love to hear your thoughts about everything about it. But how they set up the ship of Neptune and Weiss was really funny to me. Because how Jean's interaction with them, he was just like, oh man, because you could tell that Jean's always my bean. He's always trying to impress all the girls. And, he's acting like a teenager would. Like, he wants to impress them. And Weiss was always like, oh, get away. And at that moment, I still remember the moment when he catches her mid-fall in Volume 1. Like, that's always going to be a funny scene to me. Because Jean wanted to show off. Jean wanted to be the hero. And it's his insecurities. It's that side of him that I really do enjoy to see, of how he's going to develop, how his insecurities are just shown so easily to us, that many people, guys and girls alone, can relate to him, which is something I really love about RWBY as well, because, again, you can relate to these characters on a whole nother level. But Neptune's cool. Love his design, love his voice, love his personality in general, because he's friends with Sun, so I hope he's in future chapters as well, because he's really cool. I love his design, again, like I said, because it's like the blue pop in hair. I love the colors, but his personality is cool too. So I'm gonna really enjoy him throughout this whole volume. And if he's in future volumes, I've enjoyed that, because you guys, like I always say to you guys, like minor characters mean a lot to me, because without the minor characters, without the supportive cast, the main cast wouldn't have like somebody to push them forward. Because if you're always like, this is a writing tip to you guys, if you're always just focusing on your main character, and yes, sometimes you favor other characters rather than some of other characters, because you might be like, oh, this bunch is my favorite, but this bunch not so much. This bunch over here is still important to tell the story, because their little antics and everything about them could also improve this bunch, but also the main plot. So that's just a writing tip for you guys. If you are writing stories, you want to make sure these characters are always well looked after and taken care of, but don't forget about these guys as well. Don't always just, for your own characters too, for your own character's sake, don't always pick favorites, because favoritism happens both ways. Sometimes favoritism happens where a character is always given something, or a character is always like looked upon as the best, or always focused on, like, I've seen, not in RWBY. RWBY does this well, where it avoids favoritism and really just focus on the minor characters as well, or not even just the minor characters, like the secondary characters. I've seen in some anime, some manga, some comics in general, where it's like they just pick a few characters or even one just to focus on, and it's like everything's happening to that one character. It's always focusing on just them, and it's just like, okay, we'll give that attention to somebody else too, instead of just being like, okay, because that happens in a lot of shonen. A lot of shonen is always like the main character is going to get this on top of him and this on top. Even in Shoujo too, all the guys are going to be in love with this girl, and then she's going to pick the random guy from this group. And it's like the tropes of it, like, again, you have to love it at the same time, but after watching so much of it, you can only take so much that, like, this character is favored. Okay, well, instead of focusing on them and making everything about them and making them always going through something tragic or them always get, like, focus on somebody else too. Like, that's something I could go on for hours, and something that I'm so glad that RWBY does avoid, because if by now I would have pointed it out. Like, if they were to go that direction, it would have been all about RWBY. It would just be like, oh, RWBY this, RWBY that. But no, even in volume 1, for 2 freaking chapters, it focused on Jean, which is brilliant, because it took away from just being like, okay, here's the main plot, here's the main cast. It goes to the secondary cast too, which I love and prefer. Because again, I'm ranting about this because I see this everywhere. When you have a character, yes, they could be your favorite, but sprinkle that love on other people. Like, even like when I create like original characters and everything, I have some favorites. I have a lot of favorites, but at the same time, I don't just put them in the spotlight and say everything's going to happen to them. It's like, no, we're going to take some of that love and we're going to maybe sprinkle it over here to those characters I don't like so much, and just give them some attention once in a while, because it's very important to do that. And again, favoritism is a huge thing within literature, so avoid that, because that's when things become more Mary Sue-like, and by Mary Sue, that means putting too much of yourself or your own favoritism above the actual plot of your story. So that's my chat about literature today. So moving forward, I love how the lore is expanding. It's slowly expanding, which I do prefer, because if lore is just shoved in your face, then you're gonna get bored of it overall. You're just gonna be like, this is boring. But with RWBY, it's bit by bit. It's not like, here you go, you gotta study all this. Great, 1 episode explaining it. No, it's like the characters are living through it. Like, the characters are showing it us, like showing everything about it to us, again, with the whole show and tell thing. So when I'm speaking about the lore, is they were playing a board game. And through that, they were explaining like such as the kingdoms and such as the abilities. And that expands the lore so much in a simple gesture of these girls playing a board game together. Which, I ran out of water, but which I do prefer. Because seeing that these characters are in a way role-playing with each other and also playing a board game, I can easily relate and resonate with that. But also what I enjoyed is, like, you have the 2 experts. You have Yang and RWBY playing it. Okay, they're playing this game. They probably played it a lot growing up. They probably played it a ton because of how passionate they are about it. But then you get Weiss, like I have no idea what's going on. But then the second Yang teaches her, it's like seeing brand new people get into like role-play games or board games or anything. You see the light in her eye, and she gets like, oh, I'm so powerful and everything. And then they start crying. And she's like, don't hug me. Like, the interactions between her, Weiss and RWBY are just iconic, because they're so different from each other, but how they get along, that's what I love to see that, because it's proving to us that we can get along with people who are like completely opposite of us. So I really did appreciate that as well from a great storytelling point of view. I cannot talk because I'm talking too much and I need water. But Yang, what I love about her too is like she's just like, hey, I'm gonna destroy everybody. I'm gonna win this game, and then it's just seeing their personalities come through simple gestures, seeing their personalities even more come through simple little things. And I think it's going to expand. I really am very hopeful, because if it's done this in just 2 chapters of volume 2, I don't know what else has in store for this, because revealing that much about their characters, their interactions, I can't wait to see the overall like experience of RWBY, to see those interactions, because it's going to be a lot of fun. But also it's going to give me a whole different type of insight about who they are and what to really appreciate and take away from them. Because Volume 1 gave a bit away about it, but I can't talk. Volume 1 gave a little bit away about them. But then Volume 2 is really going to help me like build maybe their structure, you know, like more of their interactions, because it's like we know who they are, we know their personalities, and now it's time for the character development. Now it's time to see how they develop over time. So it's something I'm really looking forward to. But how Jean wants to be included in certain things, how Jean, it's so adorable, because again, that goes back to him being insecure. And I feel like he really doesn't have any mean bone in his body, except again, his flaws of being insecure. But by being insecure, again, he doesn't know his true potential. He really doesn't know his true potential, but I can't wait to see that potential be revealed to us. I can't wait to see how my being develops over time. Let's see, what else was there? Other than that, I'm loving this. I love how the direction's flawless in this so far. It is so good. It's so good and great and crisp that they're able to take something away from volume 1, but then add on top of it because now they have more time, they had more budget, and it's just like great. Like they knew where their fan base is. They knew that people loved RWBY and people wanted more, so they probably had much more time to work on it, structure it. And it's like now that everything is revealed to us about who they are, now it's time to build up. Now it's time to build up the plot. It's time to build up the characters. It's time to build up everything. So things I'm looking forward to. The festival. One of my favorite things in anime, again, is festivals. Seeing that drama happen probably at the festival. The fun things they'll be doing. But also, Cinder's plans. My mouth is so dry. Oh my god. Cinder's plans. Now, I have a few ideas. I feel like she might be... I mean, by her saying phase 2 is already underway, I mean, I just hope she doesn't kill anybody. That's the only thing. I don't want her to kill anybody. I know it won't be any of our main or secondary cast. Let's hope not. Because, I mean, how RWBY is, I don't think they would probably kill off RWBY. Because, obviously, RWBY is the trademark of the show. But I'm worried about everybody else. Like, Neptune, you're introduced. Boy, I'm already attached to you. Sun, you're another secondary. I mean, you're more of a minor character than secondary. So it's going to be probably more towards the minors than the secondary. Because I don't think the main are going to be killed off. I doubt that will happen. Some things may happen to them, but I don't think they're going to be killed off. Then you get the secondary, which you have to be more worried about than the main. But again, I doubt that like they're going to be killed off because they're very important to the story. But I'm going to be worried about the minor cast, such as Sun, such as Penny, such as Neptune, such as the new ones that have been revealed to us, even in the OP, all those characters. I'm going to be worried about throughout Volume 2 and further on, because now there's so many new characters that can even be killed off. Like, even with Cardin. Like, if anything, they'd be like, oh, we don't need him anymore. He's not going to expand the plot. They could kill him off. Even with Sun, they could be like, oh, I'm not going to use him anymore. Okay, you know, he's the comic relief right now. Maybe we don't need him. Let's kill him off. Because I always notice, like, the lighthearted, funny people are usually always the ones to go. Like, why does it have to be that way? But I'm going to be worried about the minor cast, again, more than the secondary and the main. Because, again, that's usually what happens when a villain is introduced this way. And she's saying phase 2 is already underway. And, like, you already know. You already know that people are going to be killed off. And somebody's going to... Just don't let it be Sun. Please, I love him. And don't let it be Neptune. I already like them both. That's funny because they're both friends, so... I'm worried. But anyway, guys, thanks so much for tuning into this episode of the Ramblin' Squad podcast. My throat is so dry right now. But yeah, I've been like filming all day, so that's another reason. But other than that, I hope you guys did enjoy it. I also hope that like you're really enjoying my reactions and everything. I'm like in love with this series. I'm in love with the lore. I'm in love with everything that it has to stand for. And as you know, I want to make sure my beans are protected always. But anyway, guys, thanks so much for tuning in. Until the next episode, you embrace your inner fangirl and your inner fanboy every single day. And also, stay weird, stay wonderful, stay awesome, my friends. I wrote that here, but you can't see it. I also have my OCs here, but you can't see it. And then Voice is there. And Pikachu's there saying, don't tell me what to do. And yeah, greatness. But anyway, guys, bye.